Welcome everyone on the workshop on Global Excellence Scholarship by University of Exeter. A little bit of outline for our workshop today. I'll try to introduce Project EduAccess, and our lovely panelist, Anushree, will provide us an overview of what the scholarship looks like, the eligibility criteria, courses which are ineligible according or as per the rules of the scholarship, what the application process looks like, some questions about personal statement, general tips, and finally, we'll also open for a Q&A. In case this is your first time encountering Project EduAccess, Project EduAccess was born out of a realization that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege most people from marginalized communities are denied, either through cost, information, or dispossessional barriers. Born out of this realization, Project EduAccess is a modest attempt to help improve inclusivity in these spaces by removing these barriers. We try to do so through 4 key initiatives, including mentoring, counseling, and role modeling, information, advice and guidance, capacity building and leadership skill development, and evidence-based advocacy. In case this is the first time and you're interested in what all we have done, I invite all of you to go to our website, projecteduaccess.com. We are also quite active on social media handles, including Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also YouTube, wherein all our previous sessions have been recorded and uploaded, including this one, shortly by the end of today. Lovely. Today we have with us smart and brilliant Anushree Joshi, who has an MA in English from McGill University in Canada. Anushree speaks English. As for myself, I am Asma. I'm studying for an MSc in Global Imperial History at Oxford, and I speak English and Kashmiri. I hand it over to you, Anushree, from here onwards.
Thank you so much, Asma, and thank you everyone who took the time out to join us today. Before I get into the overview, let me just give a brief bit of context about myself and why I am sort of paneling this session today. Though I attended McGill University in Canada, which doesn't have anything to do with this particular scholarship, I also applied to universities in the UK, including the University of Exeter, got an offer there. And I also applied to this scholarship and received an offer for this scholarship, which is how I have some context. And of course, it's important to note that things may have changed since I was a part of this process, which was in 2020, 2021. So it is always important to keep track of everything on the university and the scholarship website. And things may be different from what is out there on this presentation or what I say, but the high level understanding should more or less remain the same, especially when it comes to the tips on how to write your answers and everything, right? Having said that, the scholarship is something that you need to give an additional response for alongside your normal University of Exeter application. And it is to support primarily international students who demonstrate outstanding academic achievement, right? And of course, if you're applying to the University of Exeter and getting accepted there, you are halfway there. You do demonstrate outstanding academic excellence and everything, right? There are 3 kinds of award amounts: £3,000, £5,000, and £10,000. And the fund available for international students may be different from every academic year to different academic year. Here I see it is £5 million overall. And these are awarded to you as a reduction in your overall fees for the first year. So if it's a 2-year master's programs, the first year of your master's will be reduced in terms of its fees through the reception of this particular scholarship. And they are not recurrent scholarships. So there are a lot of different scholarships that you get every year that you study at a particular university. This is unfortunately not one of those. And there is more to be said about how you may be able to club it with other departmental scholarships and awards, but we'll come to that bridge later. And the last note does tell you which some of the programs you can combine it with and which countries you need to be from to be eligible for it. So it's Bangladesh, Ghana, India, Indonesia, Japan, Kenya, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Thailand, and Vietnam, which is a good amount of coverage when it comes to sort of developing countries, right, that apply to this particular university. And that's a brief overview. Again, I'll encourage you to go to the website as and when you're preparing to apply so that you have the most up-to-date information and don't rely on everything that is said to you here or written here, right? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Asma. The eligibility is that you need to be an international student, and I'm assuming if you're watching this workshop or attending this workshop, you are an international fee-paying student. And while it is said that you need to have an offer, a conditional or an unconditional offer to study at the University of Exeter for your master's, it is important to note that as in when you're preparing for your master's application, it is good practice to prepare your scholarship application as well and to not wait till the end of it. For example, myself, I applied to this particular scholarship, and when I got my conditional offer, because I was in my final year of undergrad studies and I still had one semester to go, I was immediately able to put in my Global Excellence Scholarship application. And this first come, first serve thing, unfortunately, works really well for scholarships. So if you are very quick, then you are at an advantage to get the highest possible amount because it is a limited fund, right? And as soon as the fund is exhausted, there will not be a lot to give to you. And that is not to say anything about your caliber or your intellect or capability. It is just that the fund is sadly limited. So you need to grab the opportunity as soon as possible, which is why having it ready alongside your master's applications is best practice in my opinion, right? Okay, perfect. There are a bunch of ineligible programs. So if you're from one of these programs, sadly, this is not the right funding opportunity for you. There may be a lot more. This is just not the one, right? The MBA program, and I'm sure the MBA program has a lot of other scholarship funding avenues. It's not eligible here. There are law courses that are not eligible here. And you can read this entire list. Of course, any distance learning programs are not eligible for this, and any diplomas, etc., are not eligible for this. So mostly humanities related programs are very well eligible, and that's the background I come from. So a lot of my knowledge will also stem from that particular space, right? You can read this entire list on the website or later on. Perfect. Eligible departments. As I said, the humanities, arts, and social sciences are pretty well covered in this list of programs. I was a part of sort of the Department of Languages, Cultures, and Visual Studies. So this is my sort of background here. The Environment, Science, and Economy section also nicely covers economics, geography, mathematics, and statistics. So there's a good mixture of programs that are covered here. So just make sure that you're eligible. And my one piece of advice here is if at any point you are not sure whether you're eligible or not, never ever be afraid to drop an email. These universities, maybe unlike the universities I come from in India, they are super responsive and they will never hold a grudge against you. Like, why did you email me or anything? Just be very proactive and don't feel any shame in reaching out and asking, hey, am I eligible for this scholarship opportunity? They will never say it's on the website. You should go check it out. They will always give you a very good proactive answer and it will really solve all your worries. So instead of losing out on an opportunity just because you were doubtful, you need to sort of be prepared to write out that email. I see a question from Seher. This is not for the University of Essex. I'm not sure if it was a miscommunication on our part, but I'm sorry about that. It is Exeter. Yes, it is the University of Exeter that the Global Excellence Scholarship is applicable to. Yeah. All right, perfect. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, there are more eligible departments out here. Again, health and life sciences is another aspect, another stream covered. So just make sure to be very certain that your program is eligible. Even if it is not in the list, just drop an email and figure that out by writing and confirming it for yourself, right? All right. We can move on to the next slide. The application process is pretty simple. There are two types of scholarships in general that you will encounter in your applying abroad journey. Some scholarships you will be considered for by default if you apply for your master's postgraduate degree, right? You don't need to fill out anything additional. If you fit all the criteria, they will consider you for that on their own and then let you know if you qualified for anything. there are scholarships like that. For example, the Clarendon Scholarship, I think for the University of Oxford, you're considered for on your own if you fit a bunch of criteria. Then there are scholarships like the Global Excellence Scholarship, where you need to fill out an additional application. That application may be as small as saying, I it's a need-based scholarship and I think I fit the criteria, or they may have some additional questions. This scholarship has some additional questions, right? And you first need to hold a conditional or an unconditional offer from the university, post which you can go to the university's website, the scholarship page, and then you can just submit it. It's a very self-explanatory process with your basic details and uploading your three responses to the questions they have. What the questions are, we'll come to that later. All right. And then there's a bunch of stuff about deadlines as well on that page. For me, again, as I said, apply as early as possible. In my case, for context, I received my offer, I think, around December, and then I applied by then. As soon as I got my conditional offer, I applied in December. And by January end, I had my scholarship response with me, right? So that gives you a good bit of time to sort out your other applications, other scholarships. So just do it as fast as possible. All right. And then if you're offered an award, then you will get an email explaining whether how you sort of accept the award, or if you have some other offers, then you can deny it as well, whatever works for you. One note here from my end is that if this comes to you too early, right? In my case, it came to me in January, and you're still in the process of deciding what your other outcomes will be like. Of course, this may be a backup university for you, a backup scholarship for you. You may be holding out for something else, right? And these processes go well into March at the very least, and even May or June, right? You can reach out at any point in time and let them know, hey, this is too early. I'm still waiting to hear back from my other applications. Can you give me an extension of deadline to accept this offer? In my case, they extended the deadline to accept the award by, I think, 2-3 weeks or so. Not a lot, but it still gave me some perspective to think about my other offers. You can accept the award at one stage, and when you hear something amazing that you were really holding out for, you can then say no. That is a possibility. But try to extend deadlines if you are unsure, just so you're not accepting the award first and then sort of going through that process of refusing everything. Just be very communicative and very clear with the university, the scholarship team folks, right? All right, next slide. Yeah, okay, perfect. This is the most important part. Everything else is logistics, and you will get clarity on it once you start the process on your own, or you can reach out to the university team as well, right? Now, the personal statement, it will draw a lot from the statement of purpose you have written. It's just an opportunity for you to flesh out very specific aspects of why you need this particular scholarship and why you need it to be at the University of Exeter, right? That's what you're trying to convince them of, that you're the best possible person, you're the most compatible candidate for this particular place, this particular scholarship. They make it easy for you by giving you 3 prompts of sorts. That's how I like to think of it, right? If you're writing a 1,000-word SOP, this is kind of the structure you need to follow. So this is actually a pretty easy exercise if you think about it. Now, what are these questions? These questions are, what are your ambitions for your future, and how will your studies at Exeter help you to achieve them? What will you contribute to the study experience and the environment at Exeter? And finally, as a scholar, how will you act as an ambassador for the university? In my personal opinion and the people that I've interacted with, this is the exact structure I give them for writing an SOP. What did you do in the past that led you to this particular program in this particular university? What do you aim to do with this particular degree in the future? And something that people miss out on, what do you bring to the table for that particular program or university? And finally, what will this university get from you in the future as an ambassador, right? This is the right compatibility check for any statement of purpose. What does the university give you? What do you give to the university? It's a two-way street always. You can't be the best candidate and then have nothing to do with this university's ambitions, their program's ambitions. You have to give them something back. And this is what the 3 questions here are prompting you to do, right? Now, how do you do that? Let's move on to each question one by one, and then figure out the right possible responses. You just get 300 words per response. So you have to be very concise. You can't tell your whole life story. You are going for a postgraduate degree, not an undergraduate degree. And this is a common mistake that people make. As an undergraduate uh, candidate or an applicant, you have very little academic experience to offer to universities. But at a postgrad level, you have achieved some sort of stuff in your academic life, including publications, including internships, what have you. And you need to demonstrate that level of academic maturity in your written statements, in your essays, and in your scholarship applications, right? Of course, your personal experiences do inform what you end up doing in your academic and professional life, but keep it as focused on your academic rigor as possible, right? Okay. What are your ambitions for the future and how will your studies at Exeter help you to achieve them? Be honest. If your ambitions are to go into academia, that's fine. Explain that to them in, I think, 300 word paragraphs. If your ambitions are to go into industry, that is also fine. It's a completely valid choice. Don't lie in this particular section. A, there is no point lying. B, your statement will not come out as good if you're not being honest and not putting your best self out there, right? Okay. How do you break this down into 300 word paragraphs? This is how I like to do it. I first explain something about my particular discipline. So I come from a literature background, right? Some theory, something that plugs into my particular area of interest and what I am aiming to research, what I'm aiming to study, develop, etc. at that particular university with that particular program. A bit about that as an introductory section to this particular prompt. And then I move on to, okay, this is how it relates to this particular program at the University of Exeter. Lay the land for them, because sometimes the people who are deciding this particular scholarship may be on a completely different committee from the people who have read your entire SOP and mulled over it, right? So you need to contextualize things and make things as easy as possible for them. How do you do that? Now you've given them this basic introduction. In the second paragraph, talk to them about how your academic or professional experiences, whatever is there in your CV, your resume, etc. Now you flesh out the most important, the most prominent experiences from that, right? If you wrote a research paper, okay, what was your process for that research paper? What did you learn from that research paper? And how does that fit into the degree that you're now trying to pursue? And then take the last 150 or so words of this particular question to talk about, okay, I have done this in my life. These are the experiences that led me to this particular degree, this particular university. And now talk to them. Now that I'm at this stage, after receiving this degree, I want to go into this particular job, work in, I don't know, social impact consulting, do some grassroots work with a think tank, with a nonprofit, etc., etc., etc. And these are the particular programs or professors who are part of this particular course, who teach these particular subjects for this program, who can help me get there. You need to be very specific, because when you give answers that are generic, textbook, etc., these committee people read thousands of those every day, right? And they can understand what is genuine, what is ingenuine, and you need to be very specific. And you have already done that homework, right? In your SOP is just about putting it in a different context for them. And once you've done that lay of the land, you've told them, this is what I did, this is what I want to do in the future, these are the people who will help me do it. Then you talk about very briefly your financial limitations as a person coming from a developing country, coming from a particular background. So you may have a privileged background in a developing country, an underprivileged background in a developing country, whatever. It is still a question of privilege that you need to address at the end of it. You may decide to spend a lot of time and words on it. That is up to you. In my personal opinion, if you flesh out your academic rigor, then giving 50, 75 or so words to your personal experiences with the financial position you are in, that's a good sort of thing to plug at this stage in your application, right? This is how I personally structure it. Okay, we will take questions on the structure later on, but let's move on to the next question first. Okay, perfect. What will you contribute to the study experience or environment on campus at Exeter? This is your time. Now, if you think of the first question as an overview, as a TLDR, as a summary, this is the second question where you flesh out the second paragraph that I asked you to write. What will you contribute? If you listed out any specific programs, any specific labs at this particular university, any particular professors you've been in touch with who, whose work fascinates you, who are interested in working with you, etc., right? Then you talk about what you can bring to that lab, what you can bring to that professor's project, what you can bring to that professor's research, etc. That is a valid form of contribution. That is contribution type number one. Contribution type number two, if you feel that, for example, Exeter in this particular department, in this particular field of study, doesn't have something as basic as a newsletter, right? If you are going for a policy oriented course and you come from that background, you're a policy whiz, you can start a newsletter for policy, and that's a valid contribution to Exeter's campus. That's a more extracurricular social side of contribution, but it is still related to what you bring to the table. It can be anything under the sun. You just need to ground it in where you come from and where you're going to go. It can't be something completely unrelated, because that uh, fragments your experiences in pieces and makes you feel like you're all over the place. You're just one person. You can't possibly be truly interested in 2000 different things. That's not an ideal sort of candidate picture that universities look out for. You need to express some specific interests, which are going to come from your heart at some point, right? So you are going for an entire degree, building an entire life. Be genuine, focus on particular areas, and tell them what you're going to bring to the table. Personally, that's what I did. I pointed out that, at the University of Exeter, there's a great digital humanities lab, and this is something that I've never had the chance to work with in India, and I would really love to contribute to this professor's digital humanities lab with my very preliminary experience in coding, etc., and my ability to analyze policies, do policy communication. I want to be in this space. I want to be a part of this particular professor's projects and experiences. And I had already been in touch with that particular professor by writing to them unofficially and gotten their sense of interest as well, right? So reaching out to people you are interested in, projects you are interested in, is a definite plus. And then you can plug that as a nice story of what you are going to contribute to at Exeter, right? That's question number two. What else can you add as an ambassador? That is going to be question number three. Yeah. Okay. How might you act as an ambassador for the university? Honestly, uh, this was the simplest answer for me to give, because the University of Exeter, if I'm remembering correctly, at least at that point in time, when I was applying, I was very confused, and I would go to their page and I would check out their testimonials from these Indian students or international students who were acting as ambassadors for the university. So there is a formalized opportunity to act as a university ambassador, at least at Exeter. And in an informal way, how can you help? This something like Project EduAccess is how you act as an ambassador for the university, right? I am speaking with you and telling you what led to my experiences with this scholarship, how you can achieve XYZ. What was my experience like if I ended up going to the University of Exeter? That is you acting as an ambassador for the university, right? So this again can be a really good example. You don't need to be associated with something as amazingly formalized as Project EduAccess. You can mentor people one-on-one, which is what a lot of us used to do for the longest time before something like this came along, right? When people reach out to you on your email, Instagram, LinkedIn, that, hey, you are an alumna of this particular college, this particular university. I really want to go here. What was your experience like? Talking to these people, mentoring them informally, is you acting as an ambassador to the university. This gives a sense of giving back to the university, that you're not just here in a self-interested capacity. You do care about a world beyond yourself, and you are interested in not just giving back to the university, but also helping people who come from backgrounds like yours. In your first question, remember, if you went on to say, I come from a developing country from an underprivileged background, and I deserve this opportunity to be here to study from the best people in a field I'm interested in, it is also your social responsibility to help people who come from backgrounds like yours. Once you go to that university, you can't just detach yourself from that reality, right? So having that sense of social maturity is also an added plus in the way you can express it in this particular answer. So you can go two routes. One is the formalized testimonial ambassador route that we discussed, where you get the opportunity to attend these college fairs, college workshops, etc., that universities like Exeter do a lot, and speak from their, international student perspective, provide testimonials for their website, reports, etc., etc. That's one route to go. But if you're not interested in something like that, or if you're not very sure what that might look like with your academic life, you can go ahead and say, I will act as a mentor, or I'm associated with something like this, and this is how I'm going to continue doing it, right? So there's now an academic element to what you said, amongst all these three answers: a personal experience, a financial experience, a professional experience in what you aim to do later on, and finally a social element to your responses. So in this sense, these 900 odd words give a very comprehensive picture of what you come from, what you want to do at Exeter, and what you aim to achieve later on in life, right? That's the entire three-question structure. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah, general tips. I think I've been giving that throughout these answers, but my number one tip always is apply early. Like, don't wait on a lot of people for reviewing your applications, etc. If you are planning to go in September 2026 or something like that, you need to start bugging the people whose opinion you care about from like August, September of that year. Have no shame. Reach out to your professors, your potential reviewers who are going to write you recommendation letters. Get their opinion in as early as possible so that you have a lot of time to refine it. And then don't overthink it. Once you are ready with your SOP, with your application, etc., and you've submitted, make sure that you keep this aspect of your funding requirements also ready. The second tip that I have is always reach out to your university. Now, this is not related specifically to this particular scholarship, but this is something that I have personally gotten a lot of benefit from. And the person that I mentored last year actually ended up getting her funding through this avenue. When you reach out to the university and write them really, really annoying emails all the time, telling them that you need this funding opportunity, you need to be at this university, they will find some money to fund you in some way if they're nice enough. Okay. And most universities have a lot of money. You just need to figure out the right way as an international student to get that money to you, right? There may be 10 scholarships or funding opportunities advertised on their website, listed nicely. They have 5, 10 other opportunities that they're not listing out. These may be funds from leftover scholarships or something like that. These may be discretionary funds that departments have and never got the chance to use. When I went to McGill, there was a COVID situation going on at that point in time. And a lot of my visa processes got very expensive and there was a lot of delay. I had a research assistantship on my hands, which is how I was going to fund it. But I couldn't start my research assistantship very formally and get paid for it until I was in Canada because I didn't have that social security number and logistical stuff going on. This was a money problem. This was a problem of need, right? I reached out to my department head at that point in time and explained this situation to her that I'm from India. People are dying in my country because of COVID. It is unfair that I'm being asked to pay more and more money for this visa process. Can you help me out at this stage? She took some time and then she got back to me and she disbursed a certain amount of funds to me. And you know what? This was not the first and the last time. Throughout my 2-year degree, at any point in time, I felt like, okay, there's a cool opportunity that I want to do, which I think will help me with my dissertation. But I feel like the university should provide me some sort of support for it. I would just reach out to her. She was not my advisor. She was not and somebody I was in close touch with. She was just the department head. And I would just write my situation to her and she would help me out whenever she could, right? So this was funding that I hadn't even planned on getting when I started my master's, right? But I knew this department has money, this university has money, and most of these universities get their money out of you all, the international students who are going for their masters, right? So never feel embarrassed about asking for more funding or funding support at any point in time. That's the biggest advice that I want you to have at this stage. As people, at least who come from India or something, our universities make giving responses feel like, I don't know, some charity that they're doing to you. That's not the case. You are in a transactional relationship. You give them your education, you give them your scholarship that they used to, I don't know, build testimonies and build their reputation. They are supposed to give you back solid education and funding support to get that education, right? Never feel embarrassed for that. That's the most important tip. Reach out to three important people: your department head, whichever department you're applying to, get their email from the website, reach out to them. And if you have a supervisor allotted, or if somebody has informally agreed to, supervise your research or something, who's super interested in your work, you're interested in this, there's the second person you should always bug. And the third person on the university level is the scholarships funding sort of team. It may be one person, it may be an entire team of people, I don't know. Always have these three email IDs handy for each university you're applying to, and keep bugging them all the time with random questions. They remember your name, they remember how proactive you are, and that's never going to be held against you as a con, right? You will get something positive out of it, never anything that will, be detrimental to your application. So that's my most important tip. And I think now we can open up to questions. It's been a monologue of sorts from me. All right.
Thank you so much, Anushree. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and spotlight you. I think everything is clear, at least to me, but I invite anybody interested in asking Anushree a direct question to either raise hand or also put some questions in the chat. There is one already. Romila asks, are gender studies courses eligible under this?
Romila, I think the list we shared, gender studies does seem like it will be eligible because I'm seeing it as a part of the humanities and social sciences bracket. I don't think there is a reason why it would be ineligible. But two steps for you: go and check out the website of the scholarship uh, when you are applying. And second, do the thing that I asked you to do: reach out to your department head and see, hey, this is the scholarship I'm interested in. Are we eligible for this? And she will let you know. Uh, I don't see a reason why not, but you should still confirm if you're unsure, right?
Yeah, I think it is, but it's better to always
Yeah.
send them an email.
Any other questions? Anything else under the sun? Oh, I see Jayashree in one of the participant list. I know Jayashree. Hi, Jayashree. What is the deadline? So okay, there are no specific deadlines. Like as I said, there is a overarching deadline, which I think, Asma, if I'm not wrong, it's February
Yeah,
2025.
yeah, that
Yeah.
I'm putting that up.
Yeah.
Yes, by the deadline of 27th of February.
Perfect. So it's 11 days from now if you're applying in this cycle. But doesn't matter what the deadline is, honestly. If you have already applied like October something to Exeter, November something, whatever, and you have gotten some form of offer back, you should not wait for the deadline and just put in your application before the deadline, because these funds are limited, as I said. The faster you are, the better your opportunity to get the max funding, which is £10,000. If you're left at the end, you may get a smaller pool, a smaller amount. So apply as soon as possible. Okay.
I have received a A question
Yeah,
directly in the chat. I'll just read it out to you. I have
sure.
received an offer letter from UCC Ireland, and can we ask the college for a fee waiver? I have paid the deposit amount to book the seat.
Mm. So by fee waiver, I'm not sure if this person can elaborate. The fee waiver is for the entire tuition fee. Is that so, or is it because you've already applied? I don't think it's for the application fee. It's for the entire tuition fee, right? I'm assuming. Okay. I don't think any university is kind enough to do that, if I'm being very honest with you. Your best recourse is to get some form of funding which covers a lot of it, or make that case in any situation if you feel like you absolutely can't pay anything and you feel like you should get some form of exemption, at least until you can get some TA research assistantship opportunities when you're there. So maybe some push on the deadline or something. Ask your best possible options to them, but you will need to make a really strong case on your financial background and everything. Honestly, my experience with my last mentee was, and she was in a very difficult financial position. Like she could not pay if she wasn't getting a scholarship. And she wrote out a lot of these emails. The best that she got was some percentage of her tuition fee, because business wise it doesn't make sense for them to do it, right? And I'm being very pragmatic here. Chances are they will not give you a waiver, but if you are pushy enough they may give you some percentage of the amount that is not a part of any listed scholarship.
Yeah.
Zubair, you asked, now I can apply. Is it possible if you have an offer of sorts? Yeah, definitely apply before the 27th of Feb. Yeah.
The same person is asking, what should I do for it and how to approach them?
What should I do for it? Oh, the person who asked for the waiver? Is
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, okay. So as I said, if you have an offer, chances are that you're already in touch with your department head or somebody in any capacity. Write 3 separate emails. One email to your department head. Second, this is optional if you have a professor or a person of interest identified within that department. That's a more personal appeal because they are an individual and not an entire institution. They are more likely to be empathetic to you. Okay, that's optional but important. And the third is, of course, the scholarship fee funding, whatever team there is. If you know a person, great. If you know just the DL to write to them. Write 3 separate emails, not one email, because if you CC or BCC them, then they all think, okay, somebody else is handling it and they're unlikely to respond to it. 3 separate appeals, and make these appeals different in the sense that your department head appeal should be more specific to your particular interest and your desire to be in that particular university. I'm not sure what your personal case is actually, so I can't give you very specifics on how you can phrase it, but the flow is the same, right? um, I come from this particular country, from a developing country background. I have faced XYZ hardships for whatsoever reason. They may honestly be anything. And I am really keen to pursue this so that I can better my life or create these opportunities at XYZ to get out of whatever situation you're in. Consider education an enabler and a right. And then you appeal to them that I would really appreciate it if you can point me to some other avenues of funding from the ones that are listed on the website, or make me a strong contender for potential funding opportunities that are under your purview. So make it an appeal. Don't make it a sob story, even though your situation may be difficult. You still want to come out as a composed individual who deserves to be there, right? So you're not writing this out of shame or anything. You're writing it out of a belief that education is a right and you deserve to be there, period. Make that appeal to your department head. The scholarship funding appeal needs to be slightly more pragmatic, that, I have these XYZ avenues. If you have any, list those out and let them know what the deficit is right now in your budget, etc., etc. List out possible solutions for them. Hey, I'm going to look for TA opportunities, RA opportunities, work opportunities, etc. when I come here. But for this first year, it's going to be really difficult for me. Can you help me out in some way or the other? So that appeal needs to be more pragmatic. And your advisor, whomever you're in touch with, if there is a person like that, that appeal can be actually more honest and genuine in the sense that you want this person to talk to the department, right? That's one thing you want them to do. And the second is more professional and more pragmatic in the sense that they can hire you as a research assistant, they can hire you as a TA at some point in time, or refer you to some of their colleagues who are hiring, right? So just brainstorm those ideas with this person, because this person doesn't have the power to waive your tuition fee or give you a big amount of funding, right? These are the only possible things they can do: refer you to somebody, talk to the department, or hire you themselves. That's what can happen. Worst case scenario, they will just empathize with you and not give you a solution, but still worth writing that email, I think. But if you, whoever has this question, wants a more personalized response, you can always write to me. I think we can just list out my email address in the chat. Um, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, LinkedIn, email, whatever you're comfortable with, and we can have a one-on-one chat where I can help you out with this. So that's not a problem at all. But yeah.
Great. There's another question. Tonima asks, I wanted to ask you if transfers amidst a doctoral program is possibility at the Essex Uni. I think they mean Exeter. Also, is
Hmm.
there any scope for a fully funded doctoral project at psychological studies at Exeter again? I've been trying to look into the university websites, but I haven't found anything on the full scholarship so far. Just a little bit of clarification, Tonima,
Yeah.
is for the University of Exeter. So
Yeah.
if you've been looking at the University of Essex webpage, you may not find the same kind of scholarship or different kind, which still resembles the criteria. But do you have any recommendations on transfers from one doctoral? Okay, yeah, they also
Yeah,
Exeter.
so Anima, I don't think I'm the best person to answer this because I never joined any doctoral program, let alone get a transfer here. Again, my former advice still stands. Reach out to the people involved in the bureaucracy and get their opinion on it. We also have like a WhatsApp group. I think we can ask this question if you're not. I'm not sure if Tonima, you are a part of that WhatsApp group, but Asma, I think we can ask this question and see
Yeah.
if there is any advice that these folks have for you. I personally don't have any advice, so don't want to mislead you with anything. Sorry about that. Uh, okay, but I think we can ask this question on your behalf, Tonima, in that group. And just take my email address or Asma's email address, and we can help address this query for you, right?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I think the WhatsApp group is for those who join the mentorship program.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I've put my email address down in the chat if anybody wants more personalized advice.
great. Zubair also had another question asking, is the offer letter mandatory to apply for the scholarship?
I think so. That's what it was when I applied. I'm not sure if things have changed, but I think, Asma, your best place to answer. You guys saw the recent guidelines and
Yeah.
offer letter is necessary. Yeah.
Yes, conditional or unconditional. And I mean,
Yeah.
it will only make sense because the scholarship application opens much later compared
Yeah.
to the university application. So the expectation is that you should have received one. And if you've not, for some reason, then you can always, like Anushree has been saying, email them, drop a line.
Yeah. Anything else?
There is a question in my chat. Does this in a direct chat? Are there any interviews required for the scholarship?
No, absolutely not. It's a pretty straightforward process. And to be honest, most of the people that I know who applied for the scholarship from India ended up getting something. So that's a very positive news. It may not be the full 10,000 pounds, at least the 3,000 pounds, but yeah, they all got something. There were no interviews for the scholarship. Yeah. Tanima, if you haven't heard on the mentorship program, I think Asma, your best place to answer
Yeah.
that.
We'll send out the mail soon. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then once you get like a one-on-one mentor-mentee thing going, I think that's super, super helpful. It's a different experience altogether, but you can still write to me at any point in time if I can help with anything.
There's a question asking, Anushree, it's good about like it's a question about your experience. What made you choose McGill over Exeter?
Oh, I can definitely answer that. There were a bunch of factors. So, Exeter was a 1 year MA, at least in my particular case. McGill was a 2 year MA. And in my opinion, a 1 year master's when you're shifting to a new country, starting out postgrad studies, it is a very rigorous adjustment. I personally felt that I needed a 2 year space out of sorts to, first adjust to the experience the first 4 to 6 months, then start studying properly, build those relationships, and then get to my dissertation. I didn't want it to be a rushed experience. The second factor for me was the program itself. The Exeter program, while good in terms of its digital humanist approach, which is what I was interested in, it's pretty cool. But the McGill program was more in tune with 2021, 2022 approaches. The Exeter program still had remnants of that old school British understanding and approach, which is something that I personally have never been interested in. So that was a big factor for me. The professor that I wanted to work with was also much more responsive at McGill in terms of reaching out to me, understanding what courses we wanted to take, what courses he could teach. So he was a very, I think, grounds research kind of person, which I really personally enjoyed, like that human touch to things instead of making it feel very unapproachable. That's something that really drew me to the program. And then finally, money was a big factor for me personally, because McGill is also like an expensive school, and masters abroad, I think, are generally expensive. But the positive part of studying in Canada, at least prior to all this political mess we are in, was that you could get a good study work visa. So you could possibly do like a good amount of work and make a good amount of money. um, I had an RA-ship with my McGill offer that was open to me. So I knew if not a lot, I would still get to bring some money home for myself. And just the idea that I could get more tierships or do more internships, even outside of McGill, very freely without any bureaucratic issues, or, the worry of finishing my degree in a year. That was a very big factor for me personally. So I wanted to make the most of that experience instead of rushing through it, which is why I chose to go to Canada broadly and McGill specifically.
Perfect. I don't have any other questions in my direct chat. If nobody has any questions, we can always close early. But remember, guys, this is a workshop for you guys. If you have any questions as small or silly as possible, we can always answer them. But if
Yeah.
not, we can thank Anushree for taking time off on a Sunday to speak with us, and that too so diligently. Thank you so much, Anushree. I loved listening to all the tips. If not relevant this year, maybe they can also help me next year around. Thank you everyone for joining. All the best, and I hope that everybody sort of figures out not only questions regarding this scholarship but others too. Um, and if you need to know anything about writing application documents, we have a complete guide we have developed on our website. I have just posted a link to that. We also have a recording for not only this um, session but also other sessions which we constantly upload on and update on our YouTube channel. So I invite all of you to also go there and see if there's something that can be of any use. With that, I think we can call it an end. Thank you so much, Anushree, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.